Okay, then I think we're ready to start. Welcome everyone once again here to our webinar about navigating sustainability labels and choosing the right certification for your hotel. This session is brought to you by Considerate Group. We are a leader in sustainable advisory for the hospitality sector. My name is Jan. I'm very honored to lead you through the webinar today, and I brought with me three excellent panelists from Considerate Group, who I will introduce in just a moment. Before I introduce the speakers for today, maybe let me take a few moments to go through some quick housekeeping points. First of all, the webinar today is being recorded, so we will share the recording with you following the webinar in the next couple of days, so you can share it with your colleagues and rewatch it at your convenience. Then you can also submit your questions anytime via the chat box. There is a dedicated Q&A session at the end. Just check on Zoom for your Q&A, for the small Q&A symbol, and then you can submit your questions there, and we will have about 10 minutes more or less at the end of the session to go through any questions that you might have had. Before we dive into today's webinar's topic, let me give you a quick introduction of who Considerate Group is, if you haven't come across us yet. So Considerate is, as I said, an advisory company that specifically focuses on sustainability advisory and data-driven sustainability advisory for the hospitality sector. And we work exclusively with the hospitality sector. We were founded over a decade ago with the mission of helping hotels and hospitality businesses become more sustainable, not just in theory, but also in practice, measurably so, but also in a commercially relevant way, of course. I think what sets us apart from other advisory companies in the field is that we really combine this deep sector knowledge with a strong focus on data and technology. And our team includes sustainability professionals with engineers in the team, former hoteliers as well, people who worked in hotel operations, and all working together here to Considerate to deliver tailored advice and action insights for the sector. Our work spans across everything from strategy and compliance to certification, data reporting, staff engagement. We're also the creators of Conserve, our in-house ESG data platform designed specifically for hospitality, which helps our clients streamline data collection and also turn their consumption data into meaningful action. We've worked with a lot of clients across the spectrum, from boutique hotels to global operators and also private equity investors. And therefore, we know firsthand the different challenges and opportunities across the sector. So in today's session, I guess this is all about helping you to navigate the ever-growing landscape of green certifications. So whether you're already certified, just beginning your journey to certification, or you're somewhere in between, we hope we can provide you with some clarity and also practical tips to support your goals. To give you a sense of who we work with, maybe here's a snapshot of some of the clients we have supported recently. And as you can see, we work across a wide spectrum of hospitality stakeholders, from global hotel brands like Four Seasons, One Hotel, and TUI, to asset managers, but also investors such as Brookfield, Ariel Bank, and Aqua Invest. We're also proud to support boutique and luxury groups like the Oetker Collection, Cheval Collection, and DGL, as well as emerging lifestyle operators such as Eden and SH Hotels, now Starwood. I think what unites all of them is really this shared ambition to improve their sustainability performance. So this could be either through more robust ESG data reporting, achieving these certifications, but also obviously aligning with regulatory frameworks and setting a course toward net positive. So this broad experience really gives us a strong underlying and understanding of the sector's operational realities, which then means we can tailor our advice and our solutions to meet the clients where they are and help them move forward in a way that's commercially, again, and operationally viable, of course. So before we jump into the actual topic of today's webinar, let me first introduce you to your speakers for today. We have with us today Lizzie Coate, an Associate Director here at Considerate Group. Lizzie has 15 years of experience in the travel industry, and she leads on many of our ESG strategy projects. She will kick off today with an introduction to sustainability certifications and setting the stage for the rest of the discussion. Lizzie will then hand over to Nick Walsh, Sustainability Data Manager here at Considerate. He's a seasoned data and sustainability specialist with a background in both ecotourism but also operational data. And he'll guide us through the key certifications used in hospitality and how data plays a role in achieving and maintaining those. And then we have Leah Jacob-Benson with us, a Sustainability Manager here at Considerate Group. And Leah works closely with global hotel portfolios and destinations, helps them implement ESG strategies at both the corporate and operational level. And she'll close our session by sharing key considerations to keep in mind when selecting a sustainability certification that's right for your business. And then, as I mentioned, at the end, we'll have time for some Q&A. So without further ado, I will hand over to you, Lizzie.
Thanks, Jan. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. As a quick starting point, we just thought it would be quite interesting for us to understand out of you how many of you work for a company that already has a sustainability certification, and how many of you are thinking about getting one but haven't quite yet. So we have a quick poll. If you wouldn't mind just answering it, whether yes, your hospitality business is already certified, or no, we're currently looking into it. That would be great. So I just wait a few seconds while that poll is completed, because it will give us some useful context for the session today. Okay, great. So actually, it's quite a split mix, actually. So 48% already have a certification, 52% looking into it. So that's great. That gives us some useful context. So just as a starting point then, we'll cover off with some quick definitions for the next section. So what is a sustainability certification? So a sustainability certification is a voluntary recognition that is given to hospitality businesses that meet specific environmental and social standards. It's issued by an independent third party following a detailed assessment of your business, so looking closely at your policies, your practices, and your overall performance. And the certifications usually cover key sustainability areas, such as energy efficiency, water and waste management, carbon emissions, and also your social impact. So looking at areas like your labor practices, supply chain, and how your business engages with the local community. And importantly, certification isn't just a one-off achievement. Most certification frameworks require ongoing monitoring, regular reviews and audits, and a long-term commitment to continuous improvement. And before we move on, I just want to clarify two terms that are often confused, and that's certification and accreditation, because getting the language right is quite important. So certification is what your hotel or business receives after it's been assessed and if it meets the defined sustainability standards. So for example, your property might be awarded Green Key or BREEAM certification based upon its performance in key areas. And on the other hand, accreditation is about the organization that is issuing the certification. So that is a quality assurance process that checks whether the certifying body is competent, whether it's aligned with internationally recognized standards, it's impartial, etc. So a good example here would be the GSTC, the Global Sustainable Tourism Council, and that accredits certification programs that meet its global criteria. So certification assesses your hotel, accreditation assesses the certifying body. Next slide, please. And so sustainability certifications are on the rise. So right now there are over 200 sustainability-related certifications in the hospitality sector, which is a positive sign. There's obviously demand there, but it's also made things a lot more complicated because, of course, with so many labels out there, it's really hard to know which ones are actually credible and follow recognized standards. And what's behind the rise in certifications? Well, there's three main drivers. The first is growing demand from guests. So polls and surveys have shown that more and more travelers are looking for ethical, responsible travel experiences. Secondly, there's growing pressure from investors and corporate clients who are now expecting clear, verifiable evidence of ESG performance when they're deciding whether or not to invest or do business. And thirdly, there's been a growth in regulations and the need to tackle greenwashing. So, of course, certifications can help to cut through any vague claims and protect your business from reputational risk. And that's really important, especially with new laws on the horizon. So, for example, the EU Green Claims Directive, which will require that terms like eco-friendly or green hotel are backed up by credible third-party verification. So, so independent certification is quickly becoming now seen as an important process for many businesses. Next slide, please. And there's no doubt that the right certifications do make good business sense when used properly, and they can add value to many areas of your business. So as a starting point, they help to build credibility and trust. So having an independent third-party verification helps to reassure guests and other stakeholders that your sustainability claims are real, which is obviously really important with all the greenwashing out there. So a certification can help you to stand out in a crowded market and appeal to the growing consumer demand for sustainability. And that market demand is very real. So data shows that over 70% now of global travelers prefer to stay in hotels that are actively working to be more sustainable. And certified properties are not only more attractive to these guests, but they often see higher guest satisfaction and improved guest experience. Because certified hotels generally work to help to improve areas such as indoor air quality, bring guests closer to nature, perhaps offer healthier food options, and often have a more positive workplace culture, which then leads to more engaged hotel teams who provide a better service for guests. So all of that helps to contribute to better reviews and more repeat visits. And from an operational perspective, certification is a really valuable tool to help uncover opportunities for improving efficiency within your operations. So the whole process of working towards a certification helps hospitality businesses to take a closer look at how you operate on a day-to-day basis. And they can provide a really useful framework for evaluating your internal systems and for identifying how things can be done better. And that in turn often leads to more streamlined processes. It helps with a better use of resources. It helps you to adopt more efficient technologies. So all of that has a knock-on effect and leads to cost savings. Certifications give you a commercial advantage. Many OTAs now, for example, Booking.com, now highlight certified hotels. So that makes it easier for guests to spot those with sustainability credentials. And at the same time, more corporate clients are asking for proof of social and environmental performance on their RFPs. So certification can really help to provide evidence of this and support with winning corporate business. Another benefit is that certifications can support investor confidence. So by verifying your sustainability performance and your long-term value, and that's important not just for investors, but also for asset managers, lenders, franchise partners, even, and in some cases that can even help to unlock access to green finance. Another benefit we've already touched on is staff engagement. So studies have shown that people are more motivated if they feel like they're working for an organization that genuinely cares about sustainability. And because certification often involves training and behavioral change, it can really help to embed sustainability into workplace culture. The next point is for groups managing a portfolio with multiple properties. Certification can help to bring consistency across your portfolio. So it helps you to benchmark sustainability performance across your different sites. And it can also help with making reporting much easier. And the last point on here is compliance. So certifications can help with that. So as already mentioned, regulations come in like the EU Green Claims Directive, certification can really help you to ensure that your claims are accurate and evidence-based. So that can obviously help protect you against reputational and legal risks. So many benefits there. But obviously, whilst value is definitely added through certifications, getting there and staying there isn't always straightforward. And we often see quite a few common challenges across the hospitality sector, which we're going to flag with you now, but just being aware of them early on can help to make the journey quite a bit smoother. So the first challenge we often see, or the main challenge really, is the operational burden of certifications. And this is often the most immediate challenge, especially for all the teams that are kind of working on the ground. So once you're preparing for a certification, you need to pull together a wide range of data, whether that's energy, water, waste, data such as procurement records, supply credentials, guest engagement metrics, etc. And that information is often scattered across many different departments, different systems, different formats, and it can be really time consuming to compile it and quite easy to get it wrong as well. And it's not just the initial workload of pulling all that data together, because certifications require ongoing compliance, keeping that data up to date, monitoring the performance internally, sometimes undergoing external audits can make it quite time consuming. And for smaller teams or those that don't have dedicated sustainability staff, it can be quite a stretch, especially if quite a few of the processes are still manual. Another challenge can be staff engagement. So engagement and training are really, really crucial. And certifications do rely on, obviously, teams operating sustainably. So without regular training and clear communication, those behaviours can quite easily slip. And of course, in the hospitality sector, we have quite a high staff turnover. So keeping everyone up to speed can be quite a challenge. The third point here is cross-departmental alignment. So obviously sustainability can't just sit with one person. You need to have buy-in from the operations team, procurement, finance, leadership team. So if communication breaks down or ownership isn't shared, then efforts can lose momentum. So having that cross-departmental alignment is really crucial when pursuing certification. The next point is cost. So cost is obviously a big consideration, and some certifications have quite high upfront fees. But it's not only that, you also need to factor in the time taken by the team and the internal resources and human resources that are required for that. So it's really important when choosing a certification, making sure you weigh up the ROI, and whether that could be in terms of improved efficiency, certification is giving you, or it's giving you a stronger reputation, or you're meeting certain ESG or investor goals. It's important to really consider those. Then there's also a one-size-fits-all limitation. So not every certification will work for every property. So for example, if you have a heritage building, or you need to consider the geographical context that your hotel is located in, you may struggle to meet certain criteria within certain certifications. So it's important to choose a framework that makes sense for your context, which we'll touch on later in the presentation. The other challenge is that standards are constantly evolving. As we already mentioned, certification is not just a one-off process. Criteria can change, expectations can change. You need to recertify after a certain period. So staying on top of that means being ready to invest in continual improvement. It's not just about ticking a box. It's an ongoing commitment. And then lastly is the issue of credibility. So as already mentioned, there are lots of certification schemes out there. Some are robust and science-based, and some are quite vague and quite weak. And those ones can undermine trust in the whole concept of certification. So it's really important to choose a credible, transparent certification, which again, we will look at later. So hopefully by understanding those challenges, it helps you to plan better and find a certification that really works for you. So I'm going to hand over to Nick now, who's going to look at some of the major certifications in the sector.
Thanks, Lizzie. So as Lizzie said, there are hundreds of certifications, whether hospitality specific or certifications that hospitality businesses can pursue. So we've put together this slide to just try and show the landscape, and there are various ways of slicing and dicing the certifications. This one we focused on 3 key differentiators. So local or international in terms of location, building, operational or corporate in terms of the type of certification, and then finally the focus, whether it's a generic certification for all industries or industry specific. This is by no means an extensive list of the ways that you can categorize them, but that's what I'll be working on as a framework for the next 5 to 10 minutes. So the first section that I want to focus on is some of the building certifications. So some examples of these are BREEAM, LEED, WELL. BREEAM is a UK-based certification that has a very strong presence in Europe and has been very widely adopted in the United Kingdom. The major frameworks that are relevant to hotels are new construction and refurb and fit out when we're talking about construction projects. And then from an operational side, we've got BREEAM in use. If you're not in the UK or Europe, you will most likely have come across LEED, which is the most popular sustainable building certification in the United States and also has strong presence in Asia. They have a similar set of certifications to BREEAM. So there's LEED new construction, LEED interior design and construction, which is the equivalent of refurb and fit out, and then LEED operations and maintenance, which again is the operational one and the equivalent of BREEAM in use. And then complementing these with a specific focus on health and wellness within the building and the internal environmental quality and the mental side of things as well is WELL. There's only one framework for WELL, which is WELL V2, and it sort of goes into a lot more depth on a couple of the topics that I'm about to show you now on BREEAM and LEED. So when it comes to green building certifications, there are certain topics that are the common ones we're talking about. So we've got management, health and well-being / indoor environmental quality, and then energy, transport, water, materials and resources. Waste sometimes can fall into that section or sometimes as its own standalone section. Then a sort of biodiversity, land use and ecology / sustainable sites, looking at the actual site that the building is on. Similarly, you've got the pollution and the impact that the site has on the local environment. Both BREEAM and LEED have further topics for innovation, so going above and beyond, so to speak. And then LEED also has a regional priority section, which is specific to the region that you're certifying in. And then you can see off on the right, WELLs are very different. They don't really overlap necessarily with the BREEAM and LEED ones, but they're all a sort of microscope on the health and well-being / indoor environmental quality section in the BREEAM and LEED certifications. Then when we look at operational frameworks, you'll see, back one slide, please, Jan. Operational frameworks, you'll see more or less the same, just a few minor differences. So a couple become deprioritized, and then at least in BREEAM, there's an addition of resources, which is mainly focusing on waste, and then resilience, which is focusing on our changing environment and how the asset can deal with that changing environment. And then I've just got a case study for one of our clients, which successfully achieved a BREEAM in use certification, which is the Yotel Manchester. And the context for this is the certification was driven by the hotel's owners. They had a complex multi-party ownership, management, and brand structure. So there were some challenges in marrying the right people to the right responsibilities. And it was the first time they were going for BREEAM in use. The approach we took was a remote pre-assessment via 2 virtual workshops. They focused on both parts of BREEAM in use, so asset performance is focusing on the building, and then the building management side of it, which is actually focusing on the management of the property and the policies and practices. They eventually only pursued the certification for asset performance. And we engaged the on-site team and the management company, delivered a pre-assessment report with a rating of good, and then we provided them an improvement plan to achieve their goal, which was very good or indeed excellent. Some of the challenges, as I said, the complex team structure made evidence gathering challenging. They had limited structured documentation, which is something we find across most of our clients. However, the fact that it was a new build did help offset some of the compliance gaps and made a couple of requirements unnecessary for them. And then as a result of our recommendations report, they installed water saving taps and showers, carbon monoxide alarms in combustion areas, and also CO2 sensors in areas with variable occupancy, such as the lobby, the restaurant, offices, etc. And across the space of around a year, they achieved their first very good rating and are now looking towards recertification in 2027 and potentially moving up to that excellent rating. So we can now quickly move on to operational. So within operational, I've sort of picked out three major ones. There's Green Key, which I'm sure you will all have heard of, which is the most globally recognized eco-label. And then I've picked out two additional ones, Green Tourism and Green Sign. These are both holistic certifications. One is more UK-based, and then the other is quite a popular one within Germany and Europe, especially in the DACH region. And all of these are GSTC recognized. And when we look at the topics that these cover, unlike the building certifications, which were very specific to the building, these cover everything across the whole ESG spectrum. I'm not going to go into the details of each individual one, but you can see the usual suspects, really. And then finally, we have corporate ones. So within corporate, I've picked out three major certifications / frameworks. Certainly not all certifications, but the three major ones that we see are science-based targets, which companies use to validate their targets for achieving net zero by 2050 across scopes 1, 2, and 3. And the validation from science-based targets will then be displayed on their website. So not a certification, but still a sort of badge that can be worn. Then B Corp, which indeed Considerate Group is, which is a social and environmental certification, which focuses on accountability, transparency, sustainability across a few key topics of governance, workers, community, environment, and customers. And then finally, CDP, which similar to SBTI isn't a framework, but is a reporting platform which then provides a score, and high CDP scores can then enhance brand reputation and regulatory compliance in markets with a focus on sustainability. And these ones are so broad that it's not really possible to do a topic analysis, but CDP and science-based targets mainly focus on energy and carbon, whereas B Corp is another holistic sustainability certification. And then just another of our clients' case studies. So One Aldwych here in London with B Corp certification. So they're the first and the only 5-star hotel in London to become B Corp certified. They've been a client of ours for years. They use our data platform. And this time they actually led the process, and they sort of came to us with a request for ad hoc support, mainly on the community governance and customer impact areas where they were struggling to provide documentation, and we helped them strengthen their policies and procedures and gave them best practices. The main challenge for them was, again, documentation, but also aligning the luxury service with the B Corp standards, which are fairly rigorous. And yes, so they achieved their B Corp certification in 2024. Their carbon footprint per room night is well below the UK average for a 5-star hotel. And it really reinforced their position as a pioneer in sustainable luxury hospitality. As I said, the first London luxury hotel to be certified. And then just to round off my section, I've just put together not a checklist, but the general process of achieving certification. So each certification is different. Not all steps will apply to all certifications, but in general, it will go like this. You'll have a pre-assessment and a goal setting that can either be done in-house or with the help of sustainability consultants like ourselves to look at the current status of the building, look at where you want to be, and identify the gaps. There's then often a registration phase with the project, and that will then allow you to sort of start coming up with your timelines, responsibilities, and key milestones. And then once you've got that, it's time for action. So integrating the certification requirements into your MEP plans, if it's a building stage, policies, trainings, governance structures, and starting to document the evidence that you need. If necessary, there may be on-site assessments that need to happen at this stage to provide certain bits of evidence, for example, a flood risk assessment for BREEAM. And then you move on to the final assessment certification. There will often be an official audit. Documents will need to be gathered and submitted, and then it will go off to QA, quality assurance. You'll receive your certification, and then you repeat. So you plan your targets, you integrate resourcing and budgets for recertification. And again, you can enlist support from third parties where required. I'll now hand over to Leah for some key considerations when selecting the right certification for you.
Nick. Great. So we've now discussed what certifications are and which ones are out there. And we will now focus on how to actually select the best one for you. So when selecting a sustainability certification, the first and most crucial step is really defining what you want to achieve. So starting with your strategic purpose, thinking about why you're pursuing certification. Is it primarily for brand positioning? Is it investor confidence or compliance? Because a certification can enhance credibility, it can differentiate you in the market, and it can influence guest decision making, but the value really depends on whether it aligns with your business priorities. So then you want to look at focus areas. Nick just mentioned some of the certifications that are out there. Some are more holistic than others. So you want to consider what aspects of sustainability matter most to your operations. It could be that you're already excelling in energy efficiency, but need more guidance on the social impact, for example. So certifications vary in focus. Some will emphasize carbon reduction, while others will prioritize supply chain responsibility, things like guest engagement, and really identifying your strengths and gaps will help you choose the most meaningful certification for you. And then you want to look at the alignment with your wider goals. So think about how certification fits into your long-term sustainability strategy, whether it will support investor reporting like SFDR or net zero commitments. Will it drive continuous improvement beyond just earning a badge? And the most effective certifications are those that really create lasting change and not just a marketing appeal, which will also protect you from accusations of greenwashing. So now that we've identified the kind of why behind the certification, let's look at the broader landscape and what's out there and how they compare. So I'll go back to Nick's beautiful slide. And we want to look at, the bigger picture, what's out there. So the sustainability certification landscape can feel overwhelming. Lizzie mentioned there were over 200 certifications, sustainability certifications for hospitality. So breaking it down into these key categories, can help clarify your options. I won't go through all of them again, and the list is definitely not exhaustive, but it's for you to think, do you want to go for something that is internationally recognized, maybe because you're part of a hotel group that has properties in several regions of the world, or actually do you have a lot of guests are from the area, in which case you might want to go for a more local certification, and then the type or the types, because you might want to go for an operational one as well as a building one to complement each other. And of course, the focus. So whether you want to go for a generic one or an industry-specific certification. So really understanding these categories will help you, will help narrow your choices based on your business model and priorities. And then we will explore how market demand influences certification decisions. So Lizzie mentioned this at the beginning. Consumer demand plays a huge role in the value of sustainability certifications. Something to, ask from ourselves as well, how many of us would be more likely to book a hotel if it had a clear sustainability label? So according to Booking.com's Sustainable Travel 2024 report, 45% of travelers find accommodation labeled as sustainable more appealing. This really shows that certification can influence booking decisions and provide a competitive edge to your hotel or hospitality business. And 67% of travelers believe that all travel booking sites should use consistent sustainability standards. So really, this highlights the importance of recognized, credible certifications that are widely accepted by OTAs like Booking.com, Expedia, Google Travel, and so on. So if one of your goals when pursuing certification is to attract more guests, choosing a certification that is recognized by major booking platforms could be a strategic move. Now, let's also explore how different stakeholders beyond consumers affect certification choices, because, of course, beyond consumer demand, it's also important to recognize that different stakeholders value different certifications. So the right choice for your business will depend on whether your priority is, guest appeal, investor confidence, or indeed both. On the consumer-facing certification side of things, so on the left side of that slide, we have certifications that are most valued by guests and online travel agencies, the OTAs that we just mentioned. So we've put a few on there: Green Key, EarthCheck, Travel Life, Fair Trade Tourism. These are certifications that travelers recognize and that platforms will promote because they have systems where you can filter by certification, and these are the ones that would kind of come on top of the list. So these labels help hotels attract sustainability conscious guests and can improve visibility on booking sites. On the other side of the slide, on the right-hand side, you have more investor-focused certifications. So certifications that are more relevant to investors, regulatory compliance, frameworks like BREEAM, LEED, CDP, the ISOs, GRI, a few of them that are used in ESG reporting, investment decision-making, and corporate sustainability disclosures. So these certifications are crucial for meeting compliance requirements and demonstrating long-term environmental and financial responsibility. Ultimately, the best certification choice depends on your business objectives. So if guest trust and marketing visibility are your priority, a consumer-facing certification is key. If your focus is investor confidence and compliance, a corporate or a building level certification may be a better fit. We find that many businesses, many of our clients actually find a combination of certification that works best for them in order to fulfill these two requirements. Now that we've explored market demand, let's look at another key factor, which are the resources required to achieve and maintain certification. So once you've identified your goals and the most relevant certifications, the next question is, how much time and money is your business realistically willing to invest? So certifications come with financial, operational, human resource commitments, and it's really important to weigh the costs and benefits. First factor, I think, is pretty self-explanatory. The financial costs. Certification fees can vary significantly. Some require annual renewals, while others have upfront audit costs. And beyond the initial investment, you may also need to budget for compliance reviews, assessments, ongoing reporting, and third-party support. Next, you want to think about your team's capacity. So will you manage to do the certification internally, or will you need the help of external consultants? Some certifications require extensive documentation, data collection, and internal training, which can be really time intensive for staff. Then the operational impact. So certifications often require operational changes, whether that's tracking energy and water use, implementing new waste management processes, or adjusting procurement policies. So you want to ask yourself whether you have the systems in place to comply with these requirements. And finally, ROI considerations. So just weighing the return on investment. Some certifications will help drive efficiency gains and regulatory alignment, while others may offer more of a marketing advantage. So the key is really finding a balance. Now we're running a little bit out of time, so I'll just wanted to highlight a case study of the work we've done with a client last year. Which went through the process of selecting the best certification for them. This case study follows a structured approach to really selecting the most relevant certification for this destination. So as a first step, the way we started this whole project was really looking at what similar destinations were doing, what certifications they went for, what were their best practices, and how they managed to be really leading in the industry. Then once we had that kind of pool of certifications, we filtered those based on recognition, compliance, and cost, which were the client's main criteria. And we further filtered them through their existing sustainability goals. So we looked at their strategy and the frameworks they had in place and made sure that the final certification that was going to be selected was fully aligned with those, so that it could be seamlessly integrated into their operations and their plans for the future. And as a final step, we created an action plan to really embed the certification goals into their operations. So we pulled it apart, looked at all the targets, and really translated them into actionable activities that the people on site could follow and implement to make sure they not only complied with the certification, but were leading as well in their field and would be able to renew that certification without any issues. So I think the key takeaway here is that a strategic approach makes certification meaningful and goes beyond just having a logo on your website. So just to wrap up, let's summarize the key points to keep in mind when selecting a sustainability certification. Choosing the right certification is not just about ticking a box, it's about making a strategic decision that aligns with your goals and stakeholders. So one, knowing your why. Certification serves different purposes. Some are great for marketing and guest engagement, while others will help with compliance, investor confidence, or operational improvements. Defining your main objective is really the first step. Then think about who it matters to. We've been through this. Guest-facing certifications will help with visibility on booking platforms, while investor-focused frameworks like BREEAM, for example, or SBTi will contribute to ESG reporting and financial performance. Then assess the practicality and the resources. Consider the cost, documentation requirements, operational impacts. If your team lacks capacity, opting for a more resource-intensive certification may not be the best fit. Align certification with your goals. A certification should support your broader sustainability strategy. That's really important. Look at how it fits within your existing ESG commitments, compliance requirements, and long-term impacts. And finally, consider a multi-certification approach. Many businesses benefit from combining certifications. So for example, having an operational certification for daily sustainability practice and a building certification for asset performance. Ultimately, there's no one-size-fits-all approach. So really important for you to, I guess the key takeaway is which certification makes the most sense for your business, and are you making this choice strategically? With that, I'd love to open the floor to any questions.
Okay, thank you, Leah. Thank you, Lizzie. Thank you, Nick, as well. Just in light of time, we have maybe time for one or two questions, and there's a few that came in around kind of some of the points you made towards the end as well, Leah. So somebody was saying we're already kind of landscaping out green certifications that we're considering, but we're not sure if we should pursue just one certification or kind of layer multiple certifications across our portfolio. Do we have a guidance for that?
Would that be for me? I'm happy to take it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what I'm running out of time. But I think in most cases, and it really depends on your business's profile, it will make sense to have a certification that is mostly focused on the building and another one that is mostly focused on your operations, just because they serve very different purposes and they have different stakeholders will be interested in seeing those. But ultimately, they complement each other as well. There is a lot of overlap between, a certification like Green Key or EarthCheck and BREEAM or LEED. So they complement each other. Usually, the work you would do for one would support the work you would do for the other, and it helps you have a more kind of comprehensive overview of sustainability at your hotel as well.
Okay, thank you, Leah. There was another couple of questions coming in around the topic of choosing either globally recognized certifications or more local context specific ones. There's also another question that kind of goes into the new EU Green Claims Directive a bit, and how certifications are dealing with those. So is there something that we could from our experience share with our audience here?
I'm happy to take that one. At least I'll start on the local versus global. I think it, as Leah said, it is very dependent on each business. And also the motivation. If the main aim is to have recognition and you think that a local one will have better recognition in your target market, then absolutely local ones are a valid option. But I think in general, the global ones do have a stronger brand, a stronger pull when it comes to the name, and also just because of the number of clients going through these certifications, they're generally slightly more rigorously vetted than a sort of more small scale local one. And in terms of the Green Claims Directive, I think in a similar vein, the major certifications, whether it's Green Key on the operational side or BREEAM and LEED on the building side, I think they are probably on the more robust side of the certifications compared to, again, a sort of more localized, less commonly used one, which is where sometimes things can slip sort of under the radar in terms of the robustness of the certification and the sort of more greenwashing side of things.
Yes, thank you, Nick. And also recently, a couple of weeks ago, the EU Commission has also given the first guidance of what they would consider certifications that definitely will align with the EU Green Claims Directive, but they're very generalized kind of EU eco-label certifications. So we still yet have to see if that will actually be adopted in the market. But I guess our understanding would be that going with the kind of established and aligned certifications that are already on the market will definitely help you substantiate the green claims in the end. Just in line in terms of time, there's a few more questions that came through. If you left the question with your name attached, then we will try to answer that in one-to-one, so we will get in touch with you. But just don't really have the time today, unfortunately, anymore. But we will be in touch. And just to round off the webinar, we have a special offer for everyone who is here right now and joined us here for the webinar. So you will get 10% off of any certification related projects and advisory services if you approach us until the end of April this month. You can scan that QR code to leave us your contact information and we will send you the details of the offer. Alternatively, you can just send us an email at info@considerategroup.com, and we will share the information about the offer as well. Or if you have any other questions, here is how you get in touch with us. That's all from us for today. As I said, we have recorded this webinar and we will share the recording with you shortly. And then wish you a very pleasant rest of your day. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.